Welcome back everyone to the Chess Journey to National Master. In this episode, I'm going to be covering round 3 of Open Figure the Force, Sabir Ali. And in this round, I got paired up against a chess prodigy, a young girl, just 9 years old when we played this game, and she was already 2049 ELO, Women's Candidate Master, so it was a big challenge. This tournament is very tough, and you almost never get easy pairings. So I'm gonna go into a story time. If you guys want to skip right into the video and the start of the game, I will leave the timestamp there that you can go to. And if you guys like the story times, let's talk about a little bit of the story time for this game. So I'm gonna start by my routine in this tournament. The games are generally at night, which is very nice for me. I'm kind of a night owl. I like to work and play at night, and I don't like so much in the morning. So yeah, with all the day to prepare, my routine is basically before going to bed I check the pairings just to see who I'm gonna play and be mentally ready when I wake up. And I saw that I was playing a young prodigy, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a lot of work to do to prepare for these opponents, so let's just sleep well. I wake up, I take a shower, go take breakfast, and then I go for a long walk, like 1 hour walk around the beach, because in this tournament there's like the beach right next to it, and it's just very nice to just chill by the beach and just walk around, hear some relaxing music, get in the zone. And then I get back to the hotel and I start to prepare very hard. So I knew that my opponent only played the London system, and I never actually really took it serious before the London system for a tournament or for an opponent. So now I knew that I had to go into the game with something sharp, something critical to have my chances. So I just got the craziest preparation and the craziest line. And now let's get into the game and let's see what happened. So my opponent had the white pieces. She started with d4, I went d5, bishop f4 as I expected, and now I play c5, immediately challenging the center. She plays e3, knight c6, knight f3, knight f6, and now the most critical move order, knight bd2, and now the chaos begins after queen b6. And here there's only one real move for white. Maybe there's two, but you can't really defend this pawn. There's no way to defend this pawn, because if you play rook b1 you just lose this pawn here, because I have two pieces attacking it, you only have one piece defending it. The same goes for b3. And yeah, I guess the engine says that c4 is also a move that you can play, but yeah, I don't know about it. Doesn't seem too good for white. But okay, so you might be asking, so why are we playing knight bd2? Because if we played c3 here, we wouldn't have to worry about queen b6 and c takes on d4. That's a good question. Here queen b6 would still happen, and you probably have to defend the pawn here on b2. And if you play the natural queen b3 asking for a queen trade, this is known to be bad for white, simply after c4. If you go into the endgame, this endgame, if you studied this type of lines, you know that this endgame is bad for white. I'm just gonna go b5, b4, and after c4, if you want to just bring the queen back, there's this very nice and hard move to face, bishop f5, attacking the queen. You can't take it because I take on b2 and the rook is hanging. My queen is not gonna get trapped. I can just safely take the rook, and you don't have anything here. And if you go queen c1, which is like the line, I guess, the theory, here after just a simple e6, just black is better. Just look at the pieces. We have 3 minor pieces developed. White only has 2. The queen on b6 is way stronger than the queen on c1, and that's all you need to know. I mean, here black is slightly better. So yeah, this doesn't work. And if you go b3, I mean, this just looks bad, I guess you can still do this. I don't know which with which pawn you take. Let's say you take with a pawn, seems to be better, but just bishop f5. And I mean, here black has a very easy game. Here knight bd2 is the critical one, and after queen b6 you have to take on c5. I take on b2, rook b1, queen c3, and here the chaos just starts. And this is just the beginning. Bishop b5. Okay, already sacrificing this pawn. I mean, you can't take the pawn. It's not the end of the world, but it's very dangerous. If you take the pawn here, let's just give a simple variation. White just castles, doesn't care about being a pawn down. You try to develop the rest of your pieces. c4, immediately trying to open up the position. You take, white just doesn't care, just plays e4, getting even more space, opening more lines. Bishop g7, e5 already very direct. Knight h5 attacking the bishop. Bishop comes back to attack the queen here. Queen tries to get back into the game. Queen d5. Bishop c4 attacking the queen. Queen d8, and here just g4. And this is already like asking for a lot of trouble. There's already a lot of tactics here. And you shouldn't take that pawn. You should just develop. That pawn doesn't really matter that much. It's just a double pawn on c5. So g6. This is not the only move. You can also go e6, I think, but I prefer the positions after g6. e4. So my opponent is following the best line, just sacrificing this pawn. I take it. He plays bishop e5 here, attacking the queen, attacking the knight, and, you know, opening this possibility of knight takes on e4 if I move the queen out of this diagonal. So again, this pawn is taboo. You don't take on c5, you go back to a5 to keep this pin alive. And now white can't take this pawn on e4. And you might think here like, okay, what is white do here to, you know, show compensation for the for being down a pawn? So my pawn takes on c6, I take back, forced move, and now what is my opponent gonna do about this knight? He's hanging, you know. You might think, okay, just knight g5 and attacking the pawn once again. But here, black is just winning after bishop g4. Strong move. And this queen doesn't have a lot of squares to go to. If she goes to c1, this is very passive. I can already go e3. You know, you have to take the pawn. And this just looks bad for white. I mean, there's no compensation. Everything is hanging. The position is absolutely a mess. And if you go like f3, I can just take, and you have to take back with the knight probably. And I just won a tempo. Bishop g4, I'm gonna play bishop g7, I'm completely winning. So if you can't move the knight, what do you do? Here the best move and the most critical is actually to just sacrifice the piece with castles. And this is just crazy. Like, this is just crazy. You know that this is computer preparation because no one plays like this. Especially because we were blitzing this out. We weren't thinking. We both knew the line. Like, I can't even imagine the people next to us on the boards actually, like, their faces like, what are these guys doing? I just took the free piece. It's a free piece, you should take free pieces. I think that's very principled. So I just took the piece. My opponent takes on f3 with the queen, and now we get a very critical position as well, with another crazy move in mind, which you guys probably won't actually find. I mean, you can try to find the best move. This is just almost impossible for someone that's not, like, you know, super well prepared or like a super strong player. But here the most natural, you need to defend c6 because it's being attacked. If you play bishop d7, you already lost the game. Sad but true. Bishop takes on f6, e takes on f6, and not taking on f6 with the queen because the knight is hanging. So you play first knight c4 here, and now after queen takes on c5, queen takes on f6. I mean, the rook is hanging, so I guess the natural move is to play rook g8. But after the simple rook e1 check, I mean, which way, whatever each way you block, you lose. Let's say you block with the e6, with the light square bishop on e6, just rook takes. And okay, bye-bye. The rook is hanging. You're just lost. If you block with the bishop here, just knight d6 check, and it's over. And the move here is knight d5. Crazy move, just completely hanging the rook on h8. And now, I mean, bishop takes on h8, queen takes on d2, so you get two minor pieces for the rook. Now, the only move for white is c4 here. You have to attack the knight immediately. f6 actually is very important, so you don't go queen f4 immediately, because that would allow the bishop to escape. If you play f6 here, d takes on c6 is very bad. So you have to actually play f6 here, the only move to stay in the game. Crazy, you have to lock this bishop out of the game with f6. And now white doesn't take on d5 here, because just queen takes, and black is doing fine here. So you need to first attack the queen with the rook. Queen f4, c takes on d5, queen takes on f3, g takes on f3, bishop f5, attacking the rook. This is all preparation. I haven't thought about my decisions yet, and she also didn't think that much. Like, she thought a bit, but she didn't think that much. Rook b7 here, and now I have two options, and we are reaching the end of the preparation. So I went for c takes on d5, and after rook takes on d5, the last move of my preparation is rook c8. And after this, I don't know anything else. I don't know. I just want to point out that here the most common move played on the top level is actually castles, which I also knew, but I didn't really like these positions. After this, and okay, not c takes on d5. You first play rook. You first have to play king b8. You can take on d5 immediately. You have to first attack the rook, and after the rook moves, now you take, and white plays rook d4. And I don't like these positions for black. I feel like I don't like the king here on b8. So yeah, so I went for the other line with c takes on d5 immediately, and after rook takes, rook c8. And okay, so here I was probably expecting rook a7. Just seems natural to take a pawn here, but my opponent actually didn't go for this. She went for h4, and let's just try to understand what's going on in this position. So black has like a bishop for a rook, right? The pawns are equal. I guess white has double pawns here, and a lot of pawn islands. Black has a more like healthy pawn structure here. But yeah, basically white has a rook for a bishop, but here this bishop is trapped, and it's not so simple for me to go get that bishop. That's the trick, because at all times, you know, my opponent has very active rooks, and she can take another pawn and have two passed pawns. So very, very complicated position that the computer just calls equal. But yeah, here I started thinking by my own, and after h4 by my opponent, I decided to play king f7. Just very simple. I just want to activate my king and just get my bishop out, you know, and threaten this bishop. Here my opponent took on a7, and now I played bishop h6, developing the bishop and activating it, maybe threatening to just take the bishop on h8. But my opponent saying that, okay, if you go take that that bishop there, you're probably in big trouble. And I realized that I couldn't take the bishop. I played bishop f4, which is the strongest move according to the engine. Just look at these bishops and controlling this very important diagonal where the pawn wants to go. Like, just to illustrate, if I took on h8, I'm immediately losing after c7. And I saw this, like, I can't do this. Like, rook c8 and just rook d8. And it's bye-bye. So yeah, I can't take the bishop just yet, so it's very tricky. But I played bishop f4, controlling this c7 square. And now my opponent can't play c7 because there's nothing. But my opponent, after a while, played c7, and I was like, this can't be real. Like, this can't work. Like, what am I missing here? Like, after calculating, I saw that I can't take on c7, and maybe this is what my opponent saw, because after rook takes, bishop takes here, my opponent has this very annoying move a4, and all of a sudden, like, it's really hard to stop this pawn from queening. But I mean, what about bishop takes on c7, which I played, and I was like, there's nothing, there's no tactics here. And after I take on c7 with the bishop, my opponent started to panic, because she was like, what? And maybe she thought that after rook c5 I would be in big trouble, but this is nothing. I can just take on h2. I just can't play bishop h2 check, and this has to be winning for me. I mean, it's just over. Bishop f4, gaining a tempo on the rook. She plays rook e2, attacking on e7, and here I just bring the bishop back. And yeah, there's absolutely nothing for white. Here my opponent sacrifices the bishop because I'm already threatening to take on h8. And now, I mean, I have just two bishops for a rook and a pawn, and these bishops are just simply too good. And I knew that here I would win the game. I was very confident. I had a lot of time on the clock still, and yeah, we were close to reaching the move 40. We were on move 27, so yeah, no pressure at all here. Rook a4 by my opponent, and here, yeah, she just missed a tactic here, which, yeah, this position is so dangerous for white already because of the bishops. And now you can try to spot the tactical combination for black to win immediately that I saw. Thankfully I saw while she was thinking, and I just blitzed it out, and I was super happy with the way I was playing. So for you guys that want to know, it's rook c1 check, and there's only one move, so this is very forcing. That's why it's kind of easy to see. King g2, and now bishop d3, and now there's no like stopping. White can't stop losing a rook for the bishop. If the rook moves anywhere, let's say, I don't know, rook d2, just check. And yeah, my opponent is forced into the first rank, and then I can come back and attack this rook that's on the light square. So it's over. And for that reason, my opponent, at this point, she was already crying, which was kind of hard to watch. You know, she's very young, and she probably cares a lot about chess. And when she saw this, she saw that she was completely losing, and she started just bawling her eyes out, just crying a lot. So, you know, I had to deal with that, but it's chess. Chess is rough, you know. Chess is very rough. So here I'm just up a piece. I'm up a bishop, and I should win this. It's just a matter of technique. Here I decided to play h5 to just fix this pawn on the dark square, and she advanced this pawn, which already loses a pawn like this. Yeah, I just took on h4. I saw that I could come back with the rook in time, so I come back with the rook. She plays f4, and here I was trying to figure out what is the easiest way to convert this position, and I found a nice idea. I found bishop c5 here, and after king f3, bishop a7. So very nice idea. Try to block the pawn with the bishop and activate my rook. You know, she played rook c4, and here I calculated that after king f5 and rook c7, I have this very nice move, bishop e6, to liquidate some pawns. Rook takes on e7 and rook takes on a6, and now I don't have to worry about anything. It's just a matter of just converting this position. I have a passed pawn on h5, double pawns on the f file. I mean, the king and the rook are active, but I mean, it's still up. I'm still up a piece, right? So rook f7 by my opponent, king e6 here, rook g7, I give a check. She goes up the board, I attack the rook, gain a tempo, and then take the pawn on f2, so I'm up a pawn and a bishop here, and my opponent goes for rook d6, check, I go back, and she plays f5, which it's a nice try to create complications here. I think the only move, I mean, there's every move wins according to the engine, but I think the simplest is just to take on f5, because if I advance the pawns, she can always take with check and keep these pawns, so let's just trade pawns, and here gave a check, king goes up, and h4, and now okay, bishop is always controlling this h4 pawn, and it's a matter of, you know, getting my king up, harassing this king, and just promoting or winning something. My opponent attacks the bishop, bishop g3, rook b6, cutting the king here with rook a4. My opponent goes to g2, I give a check, and here my opponent plays king g1, and I'm like, what? Okay, she just gave up, right? She just allowed this fork. King, rook, I win the rook, and I win the game. So after my opponent just played king h1, I immediately touched this rook. And as soon as I touched this rook, she just jumped off happiness and she said, touch, move. And I just reached my end and I said, okay, good game. And it's a draw. Because I touched a rook here, I'm forced to take it. Those are the rules of chess. And after I take it, it's a stalemate. It's a draw. It's true. Up a bishop and a pawn, I stalemated her king because I just didn't pay attention to her trick. So she purposefully walked into this tactic to give this final trick of king h1. And here, all I had to do to just win the game is just give a check. I give a check, king has to come up, king comes up, I take the rook, and there's no stalemate at all. She would just resign, and I would get a very, very important and nice win. But chess is very rough, you know. And she was crying earlier, but now the one who's crying, it's me. I didn't actually cry, but I did want to cry. Honestly, after this, when I reached my room in the hotel, it's never happened to me fall into a stalemate trick, especially over the board, especially when I had 20 plus minutes on the clock, especially when there were people around actually watching the game. It was very, very tough. But she went from crying to actually being super, super happy, as she should. And she tricked me. I just got tricked. Got tricked by a 9-year-old. A stalemate trick. And, you know, I learned the lesson, which is always, no matter how winning you are, if you have time, just be careful and always look for the last tricks that your opponent might be trying. And this was very, very nice trick by my opponent, which just worked. Well, I mean, yeah, just no words. This was very painful. Very painful to experience and very painful to actually relive with this video and this recap. But yeah, this was the game. We got a draw while absolutely winning. We got stalemated for the first time. Stalemated trick. And hopefully the last time in my chess classical career. Hopefully this will never happen again. I learned my lesson and I will be very careful even when I'm completely winning. So yeah, this was the game. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.